Today we're going to follow up on the battery issues that we're having on Michael's Mark III. Well, I got home from work a little early today, decided to dive into Michael's car, find out what the deal is with the no start condition on it. Got rid of a bunch of stuff at the back of the car, the way the battery was attached to the master disconnect switch. Got rid of all that, hooked the battery up straight. Still, only 4 volts at the front of the car. So I thought, well, let me check to see where the battery cable goes. And so today, what I did is I got into the front fuse box that you can see here is not in an optimal location. The brake lines are running right in front of where the positive terminal is, right here on the fuse box. So that makes it difficult to get in there. And then I ran across this stuff that was right next to the radiator. This piece of corrugated, whatever it is, hose, and some zip ties, and some duct tape to seal the end. Pulled that off, and then proceeded to find, I don't know if I can get this in here, this mess. So all of those cables, the red cables, are coming together, and they have that massive tape on them. So my next project is to pull all that tape off, and I kind of know what's under there. I'll bet you they're eyelet fittings with a bolt running through them, or, which could be likely as well, a high voltage Kearney, we call them. It's a split bolt, where you strip back some of the insulation, you slide all the cables into a split bolt, and then you tighten the nut down, and with that you get a connection. We use that in residential and commercial buildings when we're doing service changes. I don't know if that's what's under there. I'll let you guys see as soon as I get in there. So hang on. All right, this is what I found under there. It's even worse than I originally thought. These are what look like stock Ford connectors that have been used in a manner that I've never seen before. So let's take a look down here. Get a little light in there. So let's see if we can zoom in there. There's like 3 connectors there, and then some type of battery clamp type something or other, and it's all corroded, and I can only imagine that this is the reason why the car won't start right now, since the battery line runs straight to this point. The battery is this line. Let's see if I can get a finger to point right there. This line right here is the line from the battery, and you can see it's just kind of clamped in there. And then that clamp wraps around the back to a bolt that goes in to a spot where it looks like the original alternator bracket or eyelet that tied into the fuse box. So it's that same type of eyelet that's right here. So this is just nightmarish. We will see if we can clean some of this stuff up. And I've got a new battery cable laying over on the workbench. I'm just going to drape it across the top of the car, keep it out of harm's way, and see if I can get this thing to fire up. Let's see. You know what the worst part is about this whole thing? Is that you spent the time to go buy this part. Now, maybe it was in the toolbox, but at some point somebody bought this part and then used it on this car in order to tie battery cables together. It's pretty easily identifiable now that I've got it out. That right there is one of the top post mount battery terminals that I would never recommend using except in a pinch, that you clamp the wire down on, that somebody has cut off one side of it. You can see here's the curved part and where the bolt went through. The eyelet that was on one of the wires was attached with, I think, a 7mm bolt. Let me see. I think I've got it over here. This 7mm bolt went through the hole in the eyelet. So it came through the eyelet like this, and then the end of the eyelet is actually threaded. So that was threaded into the eyelet. And then the main battery cable from the back of the car was run and pushed in underneath this clamp and clamped down. And then the whole thing was all taped together. I mean, it was just a comedy of errors. And someone spent time doing it this way. And it just boggles my mind. I did a car not too long ago, probably a year ago. I was thinking about calling the owner and letting him know that his was not the worst car that I've ever worked on for electrical, because this one is worse. This is only the first part of getting into this car, and it's frightening what I'm finding. I'm just so happy. We're going to be ripping out all of this wiring. We're going to put a brand new harness in for the chassis wire harness, and we're doing a brand new Holley Terminator X in it, and it should run perfectly. But I want to make sure that I can get the car started again, because I was moving it in and out of the shop when I needed to move cars around, and I can't start it now. So in order to move it, I've got to push it, and pushing it sucks. So good stuff, guys. I'll let you know. Okay, guys, I'm looking over what we've got here. We've got just a total mass of wires. I don't want to spend too much time fixing stuff since we're going to pull it all out. But I think I've got it to a point where I can reconnect a battery cable to the back of the car for the battery and see if this thing will start. What I did was I pulled all of this mess out. So this cable right here, I've now got it attached down here to the stud. And then this connection here is a factory Ford connection. So I'm going to leave this for right now. What I am going to do is I'm going to put some shrink tubing on it just to safe it off. And this wire down here, this is the wire to the alternator, so that has to go in as well. And then the battery cable. And then all of this stuff is out of the way of all of the pulleys and belts and everything, so I'm not too worried about it for just pulling the vehicle in and out of the shop. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this kind of temporarily secured to the stud, and then see if we can get this thing started. Stay tuned. All right, I got this thing just about ready to fire up. I've got a new battery cable from the stud that's on the side of the fuse panel. I went ahead and put some shrink tubing on that connection that I spoke about. Ran a battery cable all the way to the back of the car. So here you can see I'm on the terminal right there on the side of the fuse box. Right there is the junction that I put the shrink tubing on. And the battery cable is just loosely run around the car right now into the trunk. If there was room to put the battery in the engine compartment for this, I would. But this is where the battery was before. And it's just easier because the ground terminal is already terminated back here. So you can see the old positive battery cable there. We've abandoned that. We've got the new one on right here, and we'll see if we get some voltage here. So I'm going to go ahead now. Before the gauges, Nothing worked before. I couldn't get headlights to work. Absolutely everything was dead. So let's see if we at least get, we got a volt gauge? Yeah, we do. We got 12 volts, and I heard the fuel pump run. So that's promising. So let's see if we can get the steering wheel up and over here. Yeah, that's in. I don't fit in here really well with the seat out, but we'll see what we can do. Neutral, clutch in. All right. Thank God. Oh. Nothing graceful about getting out of this. All right, it's running. So that's a good positive step because I really wanted to make sure this thing was still running before I pulled out all of the wiring and put the new terminator system in. So this is awesome. All right. Oh, there we go. So victory. This one is going to be coming off the lift here again. We've got to finish up the Texas car. And as soon as the Texas car is done, then we're back to work on this one. Thanks for joining us for this look back on Michael's build from earlier in the build. We appreciate you watching the channel. You all have a good day.